In November 2002, Irish sculptors Niall Magee from Wicklow and Doyle from Dublin were invited to an ice sculpture competition in the Siberian Arctic of Russia. There aren't too many opportunities to practice ice sculpture in Ireland, so with limited information, they assembled their tools. Some homemade, some bought, and some borrowed. They pack some clothes they hope will keep them warm and begin their journey to the Arctic Circle. They first depart from Dublin Airport to Moscow. Strangely, it's not freezing there, just the remains of a recent snowfall. In our current global climate, it seems the weather is not as predictable as it used to be. From Moscow, they take an internal flight 3,900 kilometers to the city of Salekhard, where the winter temperatures can fall below -40 degrees Celsius.
Okay, just about to get on the plane now to Salekhard. We're flying on a Russian airplane, which is great. First time I think I've ever flown on a proper Russian airplane. You can see in the front of the plane this little glass cockpit. See if we can get up there and do some video footage out the front as we're flying into the forests in Siberia.
The flight takes 2.5 hours, a little more time than it takes to get from Dublin to Moscow. The plane flies towards the Ural mountain range, which separate European Russia from Asian Russia, and then flies directly northward to the city of Salekhard, which is hosting the 6th Russian International Ice Sculpture Competition. It's clear as soon as the plane touches down that it's a lot colder here. The Irish team is taken to their hotel, along with the other foreign teams from Finland and Germany. The first day in Salekhard is a cultural one. The sculptors are taken with a police escort of flashing lights and wailing sirens through the tundra to visit the nomadic reindeer herders. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the vicinity, from frozen lakes, ice blocks are being cut for the ice sculpture competition. A specially modified chainsaw is used for this purpose, so that it can cut with the bar submerged in the frozen water. First, a large rectangle is cut from the ice. Then slices are cut from this for the standard size blocks used in the competition. They are removed from the water with a specially designed instrument, which is rather like a winter hand trolley. When the group and their police escort finally pull over, a reindeer shepherd struggles to harness the next mode of transport.
Here we are, flying along by reindeer power. Yeehaw!
As they enter the encampment, they are greeted with a traditional dance before retiring to the relative warmth of a wigwam for some refreshments and a chat about the nomadic way of life. First things first, and the welcome is sealed with a glass or two of vodka. Then, it's time to partake in the traditional delicacy of frozen raw fish, salt and dill sauce. An acquired taste by all accounts. Following the meal, they talk a bit about their traditional methods of living and how the reindeer provide everything from food to housing to clothing. But it seems that the conditions can sometimes even get to the natives.
It's too cold. I'm trembling. I made so many mistakes.
When you say that you were born in a tent, were you born in a tent like this one?
Oh yeah.
Yeah? Yeah. So you were born there, and did you grow up as well in?
Yeah, I was grow up in Tundra, and then I went to school. And after school, I went to St. Petersburg. After finishing school, I went to St. Petersburg, and then.
Yeah. Yeah. Does your family? Do they still?
Yeah.
Do they still?
Yeah.
And
they work with reindeers.
yeah, and they're nomadic too,
Yeah.
so they'll travel
Yeah, also they are roaming from one place to another, so they are just nomadic people.
So you have no television?
Yeah. But I think it's not a problem.
It's 1 o'clock and the sun is setting. In fact, the sun never fully rises at this time of year. Sunrise and sunset blend together and takes a total of 4 hours.
I don't know, about 20 past 8 in the morning. We just arrived on site and we're getting our stuff together. I don't know, first things first, get unpacked and get all the tools laid out so we look like we know what we're doing, and then maybe take a coffee break after that. Yeah, so we sort of decided what we're going to do. We're gonna make this globe in a globe holder, which was inspired by our journey coming across from the other side of the world to get here.
Well, I think this is something we should be capable of doing. It doesn't look too complicated. So we start off with the base and build a globe holder on top of this. I'm watching out, of course, for the centre of gravity. I think if we can get most of that done today, we'd be laughing. Well, my hands are freezing. Better put on a glove. The only difference between this blade and a normal blade is that we've taken all the depth markers off. And this should mean that it should cut faster, but also it's going to be more difficult to do the straight lines we're going to be doing. But should we give it a lash? So put this on, give it one more sharpen, and then we're ready to roll. Okay, what we're going to do here now is we're going to lay out all these blocks on the ground so we can cut the arc that holds the sphere in place. So we're going to lay them one beside the other and then draw out the circle.
While Dan draws the arc and gets ready to cut it out, Niall starts making the pieces for the globe. First, a circle is drawn onto the 2 blocks which are pushed together. This is then cut out and will be sliced up later to make the rings for the sphere. The Irish team is a bit of a curiosity. A local TV station has come to see their progress and inquire if they can carve ice in Ireland. And how do they cope with the cold? As darkness falls, work continues. The first sections of the globe holder get shunted into place, ready for fusing.
Good evening and welcome to this evening's edition of What We Did Today. Please allow me to show you. Well, as you can see from the main sculpture, ta-da! We got the first bit of it started off. And we're going to allow this to freeze overnight, and when it freezes overnight it becomes super strong for putting more stuff and more weight on top of it tomorrow. Doing the things together with the snow, you got to spray loads of water and then you got to pack it in with snow. And well, I do it the wussy way, I keep my gloves on, but Daniel the hardjaw decides to take his gloves off and freeze the fingers off himself.
The temperature overnight has been a reasonable -14 degrees, which has helped the work from yesterday fuse into a more solid structure. So, the first thing to do on day 2 is to put up the last piece of the arc, manoeuvring the heavy piece of ice into place before it has a chance to freeze. Watching and talking to the other sculptors is a great way of learning about ice sculpture. They talk to the Finnish team about their carving tools and to Georgie from Russia about his design.
Сам как бы вошел этот образ изобретения, как художники входят в образ своего героя или артиста. Вот он такой же.
And this is how Georgie's sculpture has started.
Okay, so we're trying now to start working on the sphere. We're cutting out rings at the moment, and all these rings will be assembled together and then put them in place on the main sculpture. Here we have a piece that I tested earlier on, and this is just to see how strong the joint becomes when we put together 2 pieces of ice with about a square inch of contact between them.
And this is very important so that when we put it together on the main sculpture, it doesn't fall apart in our hands.
All the teams work on as early darkness falls, and it's interesting to see the different ways people work. The Finns are using a syringe to put water between the ice they are joining, and this Russian team is using a normal clothes iron to make the surface clear and smooth. Daniel and Niall continue to make rings for the globe. They begin to put together the first hemisphere of the globe. They figure if they glue the pieces on a plastic sheet, it will prevent the ice from sticking to the ground as well. There is a growing concern that the overall sculpture will be unbalanced when support at the back of the ark is removed, but work must go on regardless. Changes in how the ice feels when it is carved occur with variations in temperature. At a certain temperature, the ice carves like butter. Other times, when it is colder, the ice is more like stone. The chisels have to be razor sharp.
It's 11 o'clock, we're ready just to go home now. We spent the last few extra hours, finishing off the bits that had to be done today. We finished this globe, you can see here, and that's half the hemisphere, the sphere that will actually go inside the main structure, which you see in the background. I tidied up the main structure a bit, just to kind of get the sides nice and level, and Niall worked on the globe. So I think today was a pretty successful day.
Day 3 starts with work on the axis of the globe and the cutting of more rings for construction of the top hemisphere. The lads feel they are beginning to understand the material, and things are going really well until a minor disaster.
This morning I tried to do a bit of ironing of the sculpture, but the temperature has dropped really low. It's dropped to around -22. So when I was doing a bit of ironing, I cracked all the surface of our sculpture up on the top. It hasn't fallen off, but this part that we have here is actually a structural part. So we're going to be leaning things against it, this sphere in the center. So I think the best thing to do is replace the whole part. It might hold, but I don't think it's worth taking the risk at this point.
First, Daniel takes a template of the section to be replaced and then cuts it away. The cracked section weighs around 35 kilograms, so it must be cut away in small sections for safety. Niall levels the surface with a nail board, which works in much the same way as sandpaper, while Daniel cuts out the replacement section. The new piece goes up quickly, and Daniel sets about leveling the sides again. The reason the ice fractured when ironing is because the temperature is too cold. When the air temperature falls, the ice temperature falls accordingly. If the temperature of the ice is at -22 degrees, shock waves tear through the ice when contact is made with the iron's hot surface. The difference is too great. Georgie explains that an alternative method for polishing the surface is to use vodka. The alcohol is well below 0 degrees, but is still a liquid. It melts the surface of the ice for a moment before evaporating. After darkness falls, the lower hemisphere of the globe is put in place and held there with supports while it freezes in position. The top half is then constructed on top of this. It looks more and more as if there will be too much weight leaning out over the side, and the structure may topple when the support is cut away. None of the other sculptors appear to have any problems, and their speed of progress is incredible. Day 4, and the work continues with the measuring, adjusting and gluing of the ring sections which make up the lines of longitude.
Very thin, Dan.
Yeah?
The two measurements up there are 10 and 10, and one of those is 9.5 and the other is 8.5.
Niall and Daniel have now learned that it's easier to use ready-made slush instead of water and snow separately when sticking the pieces together. But this requires the dexterity of bare fingers, and it's incredible how quickly your fingers stop working in these temperatures.
Look at this.
Wow.
Snowflakes.
God, I didn't think you could see those without a microscope.
Oh, me neither. Gosh, you definitely don't see them at home anyway.
They're huge.
The tropic lines which lie above and below the equator are next to be measured, carved and stuck in place.
Tell you what, right, I'll do the point for the top while you're doing the triangles.
Over the 4 days, confidence in using the chainsaw grows, and Daniel makes fine touches with the tip of the chain, while Niall glues the spike into position.
Today's the last official day, and as you can see, we finished the sphere. We put in the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn, and we put in a few other details just to finish off the whole competition, finishing off the base and putting in a little spike on top. So tomorrow will be the day of reckoning. So one by one we're going to remove the supports. First of all, we're going to remove the supports, these two on the sides, that will make the whole sculpture suspend this way. That holds, now we take out the next supports. Let's go for it. Let's go for it.
It all seems so easy in theory. There was only one other team working this morning. Most of the others had finished the previous evening. Much vodka was consumed last night, the consequences of which were starting to take effect, as it becomes clear that this is the coldest day so far, and we have a small problem.
Shit. You go away for a second till we get this sorted out.
Our chainsaw froze, so we had to borrow another one. It's fucking unbelievable this morning. It's minus 30.
The borrowed chainsaw is put straight into action as the supports are removed one by one.
That'll be great.
The crucial support is cut out slowly, and much to their delight, the whole thing stays up.
There we have it. Completely suspended off the ground. A bit of cleaning up now, and it's finished.
The closing ceremony festivities include the prize giving. The various winners are called upon to collect their awards, among them the Irish team.
Он вручается команде из Ирландии.
The prize awarded to Daniel and Niall is for 5th place. They are both very honoured to receive it.
Приз за оригинальность вручает председатель Совета фонда Филиппов.
It's a closing ceremony, all the prizes have been awarded. It's about minus 28 to 30 degrees, and I'd like to go and see how the others finished up.
Georgie's sculpture turned out very well, and exactly as his design had shown. He had been a great help to Niall and Daniel during the competition, and they thank him for his invaluable tricks and tips over the past 5 days.
И скажем друг другу сланча, на здоровье.
Сланча, на здоровье.
Спасибо.
They're both very pleased with their sculpture and the fact that they managed to do what they set out to do. 5 days carving in Siberia is a great experience, but both know it will take a lot more practice before they can compete for the top prizes. This is the sculpture which took the first prize, carved by the team from St. Petersburg. But for now, it's off to the farewell party, where Siberia has one more surprise in store for the Irish.
За ваши добрые, сильные и женские нежные руки.
In between many toasts of vodka, local dancers entertained the teams. And one by one, each was presented with a certificate of participation. Having been presented with their certificate, Niall and Daniel are asked to sit on 2 chairs placed on the dance floor for a rendition of nothing less than the Siberian River Dance.